little invocation to Devi Bhagavati, because she is the most important part of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara and especially teaching methods. So let me start with that. I think everyone is okay with this. ॐ ज्ञानिनामपि चेतांसि देवी भगवती हि सा बलात् आकृष्य मोहाय महामाया प्रयच्छति. Okay. So I'm sharing my PPT. I specifically selected this sutra from Durga Saptashati because whenever we are talking about pedagogy and Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, we have to understand the Sanskrit terms irrespective of any religious connotations. What is Devi, Bhagavati, what she is attracting, how she is the cause of Mohamaya, and what is the purpose of actually education, I can say. So I'm sharing my PPT now, and I will begin. I hope everyone can see.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Today's topic is Panchamahabhut Siddhanta applied to pedagogy. What is the purpose of education? Why we need to study, or why we study? The real reason of education as per Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is Bhadrayam Sumato Yatem. Let us strive for the wisdom that leads to the welfare of all. We have to have sumati or the wisdom. So the ultimate game of any education or shiksha, I can say, is gaining the wisdom. Wisdom for applying the knowledge that we are striving or aspiring to acquire. Then this is a small sutra which perfectly describes the purpose of sharing this sutra is I want audience to understand the difference. First, the difference between Bharatiya Jnana Parampara and contemporary outlook towards education. Uh, because if we don't understand the difference, we will not understand why we need this innovative pedagogy to be applied and what is the necessity of it. So this sutra is the Choraharyam, na cha Rajaharyam, na Bhratrurbhajyam, na cha Bharakari, Vyaye Krute Vardhata eva Nityam Vidyadhanam Sarvadhanat Pradhanam. Vidya is the Sarva Dhan. I hope everyone can understand Hindi and Marathi also because in Sanskrit, Hindi, Marathi and English like that, but I will majorly be using English language. Vidya Dhan is Vidyadhan is considered as the best dhana among all the dhana or the prosperity. Why? Because a thief cannot steal, Raja cannot seize, or the authorities cannot seize. Siblings are not requesting for their share in that. And it is not even a bharakari like it's not even heavy on our senses. So our life is not heavier by acquiring Vidyadhana. And the best part is the more we share, the more it increases. So it's a nityam vidyadhanam. And Charak Sanhita has also specifically mentioned how vidya is to be acquired. Now, after learning about purpose of education, vidyadhanam, education has to be able to I mean every student should be in a position to acquire this vidyadhanam, and how it is acquired, that it depends on the pedagogy, because the student is at a loss. He is covered, his buddhi is covered in moha maya, like the first sutra of Devi Bhagavati I recited. Satam buddhi pradipena पश्येत सर्व यथा तथम. बुद्धि प्रदीप्त करके जो जैसे है वैसे देखना, ये हमारा मेन पर्पस होना चाहिए एजुकेशन का. एंड पेडागॉगी में टीचिंग मेथड शुड बी सच that if the teacher or the guru is seeing that with his own buddhi pradipta buddhi, the things that we are trying to learn, to know, to apply, to solve the real life problems, he should be able to impart it in an as it is way. There should not be any gap in understanding what the guru is trying to impart and the student is trying to acquire. So this sutra is also I will be elaborating this small sutras in between because I want audience to understand the basic and the unique approach of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, and upon which I will be building up how to apply this Panchamahabhut Siddhanta to pedagogy. So the exploring in this presentation, the scope of this today's session is only limited to what is Ayurveda method of transferring and acquiring knowledge and what is Panchamahabhut Siddhanta. Because without understanding both these topic in abstract and not connected with each other, we will not be understanding how the application is going to be. In the second session, which will be next week, I will elaborate more on how to apply Ayurveda Indian knowledge system and Panchamahabhut Siddhanta to contemporary learning and teaching methodology as part of pedagogy. A perspective and conceptualization for application in practice. Because ultimately, any knowledge needs to be applied practically. uh, the main purpose of Shiksha Paddhati of Bharatiya way is every single part of knowledge or the whole of knowledge we are learning, we should be able to apply. Without application, the knowledge is like uh, it is like a bharaka relay. It's like heavy on the senses because we have acquired the knowledge, but we don't know. We are at a loss how to apply, and then the knowledge is lost, and we are also becoming lost. So the purpose doesn't get fulfilled. So then, Bharatiya Jnana Parampara has emphasis more on Darshana Shastra, which loosely in English we translate as philosophy. But Darshana Shastra are not actually word to word translation in English as philosophy because the etymological difference is very stark and very unique. Philosophy means only the love of truth. But in Darshana Shastra, we are not only finding the truth, we are trying to understand the nature of pain, which is called as heya. Then the causes of pain, which is also called as heya hetu. Then how to be liberated from that pain or the liberation from pain, that is also called as hana. And hanopaya, how, what are the tools or the remedies or the upaya for causing this liberation from pain. So Darshan Shastra's main aim is heya, heya hetu, hana, hanopaya. These fourfold things are there. Just the pursuit of truth is never going to cause the liberation from pain or the reduce the real life problem or make life easier to live, because the knowledge has to be applicable, and it should be applicable in a such a way that we are not only living healthily but we are pursuing the main four purushartha, dharmartha, kama and moksha too. So the main that is in short a structure of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, unlike today's. Then knowledge. Knowledge is loosely translated as jnana. Why we need to acquire knowledge, what for, how to. Charak Samhita has mentioned three ashanas: pranayashana, dhanayashana, and parlokashana. So Bharatiya Jnana Parampara has definitely laid more emphasis on parloka ashana too, because pranayashana, dhanayashana, everyone understand, everyone wants to live, everyone wants to live in wisdom, everyone wants to acquire dhana or prosperity actually by the application of that knowledge, but only that is not enough. The parlokashana is very much important because moksha, parlokashana, nivrutti, apavarga, these are the things which are for the living beings. It's not like they are for the person who is waiting for death. So this is the big difference in understanding whenever we are talking about parlokashana, adhyatma, apavarga, moksha. We have to understand it in the context of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. And then pedagogy, which is I am understanding this as please correct me if I am not understanding it wrongly, because pedagogy is the word I am not acquainted with much, because in Ayurveda we never learned about this word. Teaching intent and methods. Uh, the intention of the teacher in teaching the topics or the subjects, and then methods, which are the different methods of pedagogy. Bloom's taxonomy is the method that which I have understood, and which is applied actually in Ayurveda colleges also. So that is in concise the pedagogy of contemporary or modern way. And Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is the basis of which is Darshana Shastra, and knowledge acquisition for what? Creation. And the last point on this is the difference between subject teacher, technical expert, and IQS teacher or acharya. A subject, now this point I want audience to retain in mind, because when I explain about the circles or the domains on which this Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is resting or it's built up, there this point will be most important. A subject teacher, like a teacher of maths or a teacher of English, they will be only proficient in that subject and only on that level, like primary school or secondary or higher secondary or college level. Technical expert will be a little higher, but he will be technical expert of only a particular small field, and he will be proficient in that field only. It will not be like a holistic kind of knowledge acquisition. So they will be, I can say this is like a reductionism in a Shiksha Paddhati or reductionist method of pedagogy. And Bharatiya Jnana Parampara Acharya, they are expected to be holistically in the know about what are the knowables, what is knowledge, and how to apply the knowledge. It's not necessary then they need to be expert in everything, but they should have the basic foundational understanding, so they can teach the shisha or the disciples or the students, and then student can understand what is for their liking and not, and they can build upon that and go ahead. So a guru is not expected to be like a technical expert or a subject teacher. Guru is expected like an acharya. Acharya means who is having holistic understanding of the whole world kind of thing. And it's very difficult to understand this concept, because as a teacher or as a professor, we are only focusing on a small part of the our core subject or our core technical expertise. Then, whenever we are talking about philosophy, we have to understand it in the context of Darshana Shastra. There is ontological approach where the study of knowable or being uh, is explored, and there is epistemological approach where the study of knowledge and study of applied knowledge is expected. In ontological approach, the study of knowable being, the nature of existence, the nature of diverse things that are in the universe, the whole universe, which are existent independent of human being. That is ontological approach. Epistemological approach is wholly dependent on human cognition, because without human cognition we have nothing like epistemology. Without human cognition we have no way of knowing what are the knowables in the whole universe, what is the whenever we are talking about science, physics, chemistry, we are talking in abstract way. But ontological approach is look at the whole picture in the universe, which is actually resting on Panchamahabhuta. And then epistemological approach is we have to cognize, understand what is outside of us, and then we have to realize it within us also, and then we have to build on application of that outside entities for our own well-being. That kind of approach is expected by Darshana Shastra and Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. For Ayurveda, core six Darshana Shastra are specifically mentioned: Sankhya Darshan, Nyaya Darshan, Yoga Darshan, then Nyaya Darshan, then Purva Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa, Bauddha Darshan, Jaina Darshan, even Charvaka Darshan, Raseshwar Darshan. They are small, small Darshan Shastra. Every kind of, so there is every kind of path to understand the knowables in this universe. apart from just a human being. They are accepted, assimilated, built on, debated on repeatedly. They have observed if it is true or not, and they have postulated some siddhanta. And one of that, and the first one is the of among all those siddhanta is Panchamahabhut Siddhanta. And Ayurveda is specifically considered as Panchamo Vedaha because the four Veda they are for only Ihaloka, like the current world or the current lifespan. And Ayurveda as a Panchama Veda is for Paraloka also because Ayurveda or the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara specifically has accepted, they have cognized, actually I can say, because acceptance is not same as cognition, and they have cognized there is something which is totally non-material kind of entity which cannot be divided, which is the smallest part, and which is a connecting thread of everything that exists in this universe. And that thread, the small thread, is also called as jivatma, atma. Various names have been given and described by various darshan shastra. But that parloka eshana and the parloka, the beneficial Veda or the beneficial knowledge for parlok is also in mentioned in Ayurveda, and which is to be acquired while we are still living. So the whole Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is specifically for the benefit of a living human being, irrespective of his diverse background. And Guru Shishya Parampara. So Bharatiya, whenever we are talking about parampara is what? From one to second, second to third, third to fourth, like it's going on and going on and going on. So Guru is imparting the knowledge, whatever he has understood so far in his knowledge, he will impart it to next generation, and the next generation will be again someone will be Guru, and they will impart it to next generation like that. So it's like a sanatana, continuum, constant process, because knowledge I have acquired, but if I keep it to myself, I'm not sharing, it is gone with me. So that is why Guru Shishya Parampara was very much essential part, because whatever knowledge we acquire, whatever is our understanding, uh, uh, that understanding is tested by the application of Darshan Shastra. There are methods also, how the student comes to know that if he is teaching me the perfect or not, if it is a wrong teaching or it is a wrong teaching method or the knowledge is not actually proper. Even the Shishya has, that is also described in Charak Samhita, the qualities of Guru. Who is your Guru and who is your actual teacher, and how a Shishya should be selected by a Guru. What are their qualities? Because if the qualities don't match, whatever Guru is teaching is lost on the Shishya, and whatever Shishya is trying to learn is not understood by the Guru. And here the Panchamahabhut Siddhanta is like a cohesive force, because many times in modern classrooms the teacher is teaching, the students are not understanding, and there is so much disconnection, discordancy, the student is not getting interested in the topic, and it reflects in the marks, and then they get a very negative experience of school or college and the whole educational system. Because I have seen some students, they said that horrible years there, and we don't want to go back, we don't want our children to go through that. But in Guru Shishya Parampara, the bond between Guru and Shishya was kind of a lovely bond, or it was like a mother and child. The Guru was a mother or a mentor. And it's not necessary that Guru has to be only a male gender. A Guru can be anyone. Anyone means anyone. Like for Charvak Rishi, a Guru was a Reda, we say in Marathi. So Guru and Shishya Parampara is like that. So Shishya has to have that desire that I want to know, I want to learn, and then the Shishya will ask the questions. If the Guru is there, na, he will definitely answer, and Guru will come in various different forms. So Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is not contained in a classroom. The whole world is like a classroom, and the whole world is there to make us wise or wisdomful, and the whole world is is teaching us how to survive, how to be at our best, and everything. More about this I will be talking in the second session. And then in those previous eras, universities or Vidyapitham like Nalanda and Takshashila were also there. They were the universal knowledge transfer where people from outside of our country also used to come. They came from various direction. They learn, and especially Ayurveda Itihasa has mentioned who came, then how they learn, and they went to, one went to Greece, one went to North, to Russia, to Europe. It is specifically mentioned in Ayurveda Itihasa. And there were also ashrama or sampradaya. There was a Dharmantari sampradaya, like this, only surgical cases were or the surgical topics were taught there. Uh, like, and then sampradaya, and now we are having this a little bit of a kind of a vikruta rupa, I can say, or the corruption, I can say. We have various sampradaya which have been labeled as dharma or religion, but they are sampradaya, and they have lost their core aim. The aim has always been, like I mentioned, in Darshana Shastra. Because every Darshana Shastra, like Pashupati Darshana Shastra, they become Shakta, then the Sampradaya become different, they become Shaivites. Likewise, those who were following Sankhya Darshana Shastra, they become Vaishnavite. And then the Sampradaya clashed, and because there was no necessity actually for all this discordancy, because Sampradaya is not something like a religious. So for us, especially when we are talking about Bharatiyata, irrespective of any divisive kind of forces, we have to understand our main core gist of existence, and our main knowledge parampara, I can say, which we have inherited because we are born here in this land of Bharata. So we are actually the next generation stakeholders, and we are claim. But instead of claiming, if we keep fighting among each other that this is not this, this is not this, then we are going to lose it. So we are not to do that. So the importance of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is also there, and how it is impacting our knowledge, the way we transfer knowledge to next generation, that also I will be elaborating in the last slides. Then Ayurveda is the ancient Indian system about Ayu or life. So it's all about life. Why I am mentioning Ayurveda? Because Panchamahabhut Siddhanta is beautifully applied in Ayurveda for regaining or sustaining. So I'm here talking. I have just made a reference to Ayurveda because in Ayurveda it is a medical science also, and the wrong kind of knowledge can play havoc with people's life or people's health. So the Guru Shishya Parampara in Ayurveda especially was very much strict. How the Guru is imparting knowledge to Shishya. So the innovative pedagogy I will be talking about in the second session is about this. The knowledge, the right kind of knowledge, yathartha knowledge we say, that should be imparted. The knowledge should not be corrupted by anything that the teacher or the guru might be holding. So this is most important. In Ayurveda, it has been perfected beautifully, and that is why we still have Charak Samhita in a textual format. Because earlier the knowledge was transferred in Shruto or Maukika way. The guru used to talk. The verbal communication was there. The emphasis was on how to recite and how to, because there used to be a lot of difference. So the perfection of the scriptural knowledge via oral tradition was perfected, and that is why we still have Ayurveda after almost thousands of years in the correct format without corruption. Okay, so the Panchamahabhut Siddhanta is all about interconnectedness of the individual and the environment. This is a fundamental concept in Ayurveda which describes the five elemental principles: Prithvi, Jalo or Apa, Agni or Tejasa, Vayu and Akasha. All these five elemental principles at various levels, from quantum to manifested or the gross or the physical level or metaphysical level. They constitute the universe as well as the human being. Every single material plane existent things or beings, they are made up of these five principles, elemental principles. And here Akash is like a substratum. It is like a space. where all these other force they have their play and they manifest in different way. In short, to understand, I can say what is akasha. Once I say space, it had some actually more deeper understanding is there mentioned about regarding this panchamahabhuta. But in short, I can say right now, akasha is the space in which fire or Agni or Tejas expresses itself as action and expressions of things or beings. Then air expresses in this Akasha Mahabhuta realm, especially as ideas and communication. Then water expresses itself, Jala or Apa Mahabhut expresses itself in this Akasha Mahabhut realm as emotions and feelings. And then earth or Prithvi Mahabhuto expresses itself in this Akasha Mahabhuto domain as tangible and material. So in short, these are the various ways of expressions of existent beings or things in the domain of Akasha Mahabhuto. And there is other bigger domain about which I will be speaking later. And this presentation is exploring the application of Panchamahabhut Siddhanta to pedagogy, offering a unique Ayurveda perspective on teaching and learning. I will be doing it in the second session. The Sushruत Samhita had clearly said, Ekam Shastra Madhyano no Vidyat Shastra Nishayam Tasmat Bahushrutaha Shastra Vijaniya Chikitsakaha. So a chikitsak has to be perfect, and Sushruta Samhita has clearly said when the chikitsak is learning, reading only one shastra, like I'm only reading physics and I don't I have no understanding about chemistry or biology, then I will be lost when I go towards higher learning. So it I will not be getting total understanding of the shastra or the science or the scientific domain. So one shastra only is not at all recommended. Bahushrutaha, that means now here bahushrutaha doesn't mean that we have to listen because our methods of teaching and learning have changed. So we can say we have to read to understand various shastra that are available right now, and specifically six vedanga have been mentioned for ayurveda chikitsak. They have to have the knowledge of Vyakrana or grammar, then music also, Jyotish also, and they have to understand it, the totality, whatever they are trying to understand, because the subject is not concise, the subject is vast, and we have to understand the whole subject in a holistic way. And holistic method of teaching and holistic acquisition of knowledge for holistic purpose application has been promoted by Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, is my understanding so far after learning through Ayurveda and everything. And Charak Samhita has this beautiful sutra, Shastram Jyoti Prakarshartham Darshanam Buddhiratmanah. Again, we are saying whenever we are talking about education or shiksha, we have to understand here the metaphor is used. Jyotihi prakarshartham. Shastra is what? Shastra is that which is enlightening us. If we are sitting in a dark room, we see nothing. Then we are in tamas, we are in ignorance, we are in illusion, because then the mind starts playing and we get in delusion or illusions. But the Shastra is such that it illuminates. As soon as the sun comes up, the whole world is in front of us to understand and cognize. Because human cognition is most important part. If the student is not cognitively in a correct state, he is not going to understand what the teacher is trying to teach. So this human cognition and this cognitive level of the whole class needs to be at such a level that if the shastra is being taught by the teacher, then the whole class feels, oh my god, I never knew this is so interesting, this is so exciting, and I am now understanding what this thing is. It's like a eureka moment that Aristotle experienced. As soon as the things are lighted, like because of light I came to know that here is this, here is that, and this is this, and this is that. We recognize each other, we recognize others also, we can differentiate, we can understand their qualities, we can understand how they are interplaying, how the interplay is affecting everything around us. That is why Jyotihi Prakashartham is most important. And Darshanam, again Darshana Shastra. Whenever I'm talking about Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, Darshan Shastra are must and Darshanam is must. Who is seeing? Who is the seer? The seer is within us, and we have to recognize that seer, because if we are not recognizing, okay, knowledge is there, but who is acquiring knowledge? We can lose this, oh, it's mind. It's not the mind that is acquiring knowledge. The knowledge acquisition is happening at the level of Atmanaha. Atmana is dwelling within everyone. It is the whole part of the whole. And it is not just a part of a whole, but the whole is again in a small way, but it is still whole, like that. And how this interaction happens, like whatever is outside, I am seeing, my Atma is seeing, then Buddhi. Buddhi is most important part of human cognition. And Indian knowledge system or Bharatiya Jnana Parampara has very repeatedly emphasized how बुद्धि is to be developed. बुद्धि की उपलब्धि होनी चाहिए, तभी हम लोगों को कॉग्निशन या वो नॉलेज का ट्रांसफरेंस एक्चुअली होगा. Otherwise we are just listening, and then it's going through, like we say, coming in this year and going through this year, like that. It's not we have to retain the exact knowledge that we are learning. That retention, that dharana is also most important part of Indian knowledge system. Then nahi jnana krusne jneye jnanam utpadyate. In Charak Samhita, this sutra has come with little bit of twist. In the second sutra, it is we. In Samhita, it is expected that any scripture or Samhita or any textbook which we have to learn has to be perfect. There are even ways mentioned in Charak Samhita how to check if the book or the text that I'm going to learn from is perfect or not. There are Tantra Dosha or Tantra Guna. Then Tantra Dosha is repetition. Guru never repeats the same thing. Likewise, Charak Samhita has no repetition of the same thing, even in different chapters or adhyaya. It is like a apta vachana. Once said, you have to work around it, because it is not something. This knowledge is not something that is written by a single man. It is a whole human collective consciousness which has cognized and then put it in verbal words, and those words have been textualized, and that's why we have the text. And why this we is in the second sutra, nahi jnana vayana krusne jneye vidyanam utpadyate. So the first one's meaning is part knowledge of a knowable never leads to complete understanding of knowledge. So for complete understanding of knowledge, we have to understand, we have to go for the holistic knowledge. We have to understand what are the knowables in the whole. The second sutra, the meaning is part knowledge of knowledge never leads to complete understanding of specific knowledge. Even for a specific knowledge, part knowledge of knowable is never going to lead us to complete understanding. Now, why this is said like this? Because whenever we are talking about knowable, then knowers, and who is acquiring the knowledge, that is the knower. The knower has to decide, knower has to consciously choose that I want to understand the whole thing holistically, because knowledge acquisition is not for our just bread and butter. Knowledge acquisition is not for just earning money. If it comes, then it's okay, but that is not the main focus. The main focus has always been to eliminate our own self. Like the Durga Saptashati Sutra I first recited, the Moha Maya Prayachati. The Moha Maya that is covering our Atmana, we have to remove that. Then we will see how the whole world is, and how we have to aim for complete holistic well-being, because the main purpose of shiksha has always been reduce the misery, or like I said, henopayo. Then what are the methods of or the tools to reduce the pain or the miseries of life? of of human manifestation of this Atman, and how we can liberate while still living from those pain and misery. If we're that kind of higher aim was always expected in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. And then this is the Charak Sutra, which I personally love this, because I can't say that I have so and so guru. Guru is not only a single person. Guru can manifest in any way. For me, Guru has been this whole world, every single person I met, the events, the situation, the experiences. So Charak Samhita has very beautifully concise it in this sutra. कृत्स्नो हि लोको बुद्धिमताम आचार्य शत्रुश्च अबुद्धिमत्ताम. The whole world is acharya for intelligentsia and the enemy for the ignorant. Right now, we are thinking of pedagogy or the teaching methods. It is like a closed compartment or a closed classroom. Charak Samhita is saying, no, the whole world, your everyday interaction with others, every day you are learning something new. So they are you are if you are wise, if your buddhi is in a proper place, you will learn from every single experience. With every single breath you will be transferring the knowledge that you are acquiring to your atmana, and then you will realize, then you will be enlightened. Now what is enlightenment? It is not like something like a person who knows everything, or not someone like who is apathy, who doesn't understand, who is not into day to day samsaric kind of lifestyle. It's not like that. The real enlightenment happens when we get tattva bodha. तत्व बोध and तत्व स्मृति बल, these are the चरक संहिता वर्ड्स. दिस तत्व स्मृति बल, जो भी तत्व हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं उसका हमें जब स्मृति यानी वो स्मरण रहता है, तब हमारा मोक्ष अपने आप हो जाता है. मोक्ष इज समथिंग दैट वी हैव टू स्ट्राइव फॉर स्टिल as long as we are living. Moksha is not something to be had after our body is gone. So this is very perceived and misconceived understanding about Adhyatma also, especially when we are talking about Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. And those who are not wise, I will say Abuddha means those who are ignorant. Those who are ignorant, those who are in fear, they will perceive the world something like the whole world is my enemy, because they are not understanding uh, how to learn from the whole world. And Guru's main aim is to lead Shishya from Abuddhata to Buddhimata. The whole world is also trying to do this. And this whole aspect is actually encompassed in Karma Siddhanta. That is, it is a little bit off topic, but it is also important, because Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is so beautiful holistically actually, to lead every single person from his ignorance to enlightenment, or from ignorance to lighting up the things that he doesn't understand. The day someone's understand, oh my god, I never knew this, like, oh, this is how it was, it's so fantastic. That kind of emotions, they stay forever, and the knowledge is actually gets solidified into jivatma or the atmana. And this small part in every single being, because human cognition is involved there, then it affects the whole society on a collective level also. The level of consciousness of the whole society increases when this kind of knowledge transfer from acharya happens, from abuddha to buddhimata. Then these are some pedagogical methods mentioned in Charak Samhita. Sushruta Samhita has also mentioned, and Ashtanga Hridaya. I will be talking about, and Charak Samhita is best to understand pedagogical methods applied under Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. And Charak Samhita starts with simple first thing, which I think in a classroom teaching, every single teacher or professor has to understand if they are to be understood by their students. Trivida Shishya Buddhi Hitam. There are different intellectual types of students. Some are very sharp, some have a very great grasping power, to say Tagbhat kind of thing, Tikshna Buddhi. सम आर मीडियम ओके, थोड़ी देर के बाद समझ में आता है. सम आर लाइक एक अल्प बुद्धि. They take a lot of time in understanding what the teacher is trying to convey or what is being taught. Even the topic they don't easily understand, and they are the laggards of the classroom. And the current pedagogical methods are actually, in a way, I this is my personal observation. Others may not agree with this, but right now in the classroom, what is happening? The Tikshna Buddhi person, teachers love him, they work on him only, and he becomes the top classer, he becomes the gold medalist. It's not a big job. He is already Tikshna Buddhi, he is already intelligent. Then what is the contribution of the teacher in his life to take him from this higher point to that higher point? Nothing. But when a student is Alpa Buddhi or Manda Buddhi, to take that student, to work on him, to lead him from Abhuda to Buddhimatam, or make him aware of himself, to polish his cognition, to polish his mohamaya, that kind of thing that is covering his buddhi. That is the real work of a teacher, and any teacher who can do this is best. Like Kalidasa, he was not what he was, but his wife gave him such a heart teaching lessons that he became Kalidas, the Kavi we know of. So for him, his guru was his wife ultimately. But in a closed classroom also, right now we have to focus on the Eka Buddhi students also and work on them. So they also get integrated into this knowledge pool or the knowledge based collective. We can't leave them behind because they are Alpa Buddhi. Because if we leave them behind and if they become 10% of the whole society, the whole society's consciousness level or the level of knowledge will go down. So we have to work on that also. And then second method is Vakyashaha Vakyartha. It's about reading and understanding methods of text. Reading the whole sentence, the meaning of the sentence, then the difficult to understand terms and how to understand those terms meaning and the whole contextual meaning, how to derive that. That method is now this is for self study or swadhyaya, especially this second method. Then Prashnashtaka, 8 questions. This is also for self study. 8 questions are asked. Tantrartha means what is the text, what are the meaning, what is the meaning of the textual parts or the textual topics. This sthanartha. The sthan is related and like a big topic is there. The whole, whenever we're talking about whole, it is a big topic. Then we have to part wise, we have to concise it and then ask questions. Tantrartha is the biggest. Then Sthanartha. Means it is Sthana is like concising the topic. Like science is a big field, but if we concise it to physics, then it will be like a Sthana. And then Adhyaya. Then even in physics, there will be different parts like that. And then Adhyayartha, the Prashnartha. This last part, Prashnartha, is in a way applied like exams. We conduct exams, we ask questions, and the student answer. Then we grade them or give them marks. But in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, this prashna has to be asked by the Shishya to himself and to Guru also. It's other way around. Guru is not asking prashna and trying to assess how much the Shishya has understood. Whenever we are talking about teaching methods, we are not assessing the students. We are simply imparting the knowledge to them. How much they have gained or how much knowledge they have assimilated is another part. That comes the latter part. And this Prashnartha is most important part and which we need to flip now. Instead of Guru asking question, Guru setting question papers and then grading, let the students ask questions. When the students ask question, the teacher also learns because there are so many questions which which never crossed our mind, and it becomes a two-way process of knowledge acquisition. Because honestly speaking, we can never say that yeah, I know everything that is to be that is knowable or that is knowledgeable, or the knowledge everything I have got, so I am a very highly knowledgeable person. That kind of delusion we are not to get into. That is how Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is. And then there is specific Vada Marga. These are based on Sankhya Darshana Shastra. We can say them like a debate or discussion. It is more of a discussion actually, because whenever we are talking about debate, we see the Lok Sabha and then the debating and then that discordancy. It's not like that. The discordancy is not expected. The purpose of Vadomarga is friendly discussion where everyone is pitching in with their own understanding, their own idea, and how this should be, how this should not be, why this is correct, why this is not correct, and the prove the point. Like then Pancha Avayavi Vakya is there also. This is Ayurveda's best research methodology, which is highly unrecognized right now, but which needs to be implemented, especially whenever we're talking about research. So these 40 methods or concepts of discussions or debates, they actually test the guru as well as the students, how, and even the students, instead of setting question papers and assessing how much memory the student has or how much the student has capacity to repeat what has been taught to him from textual knowledge. It is better how he is able to apply. Knowing what is force is different thing, but how to apply that force in real life, real life, to solve the real life problem, that is never tested. And for that assessment or for that kind of test, Vada Marga is best. It's like a discussion. Now we have gained this knowledge. Okay, so let us discuss how to apply it. And then everyone is joining in. We can make small, small. Now, more about this, I will be coming in the second session. I'm just giving a glimpse into it right now for a small understanding. Then Pramana. Pramana are actually tools of measuring yatharthata of any knowledge. Knowledge is not just yatharth, it can be anything. Anything can be knowable. But do we really need to know every kind of thing? Do I really need to understand? Because there are innumerable bhava padartha are there, and abhava padartha also are there in the universe. And not everything is knowable. Not everything we need to know. We have, because our human cognition is limited, we will only be able to perceive that knowledge which is existing in the Panchamahabhut realm. Beyond that, on this side or this side, we don't have the sensory faculty to get or grasp. So, what kind of knowledge is yathartha? That is tested repeatedly by Aptopadesh, Pratyaksha, and Anumana. And the fourth one, Yukti, which is Charak Samhita mentioned specifically. So, Yukti is reasoning. Reasoning is totally accepted even now. Every methodology or research, the knowledge, we are always rational. What kind of thought process is there? With rationality, the rational application, we say the knowledge has to be able to stand on that uh, test of rationality and to be applicable properly in a rational method. Aptopadesha is like Aptavachana, like uh, sun is there. We don't have to prove. We also see it. We know. So that kind of Aptopadesha, there are some Vachana or there are some seer, Darshana Shastra, like it is like a seer who has seen. And the Rishis, our Rishis were Tattvadarshi. They have seen it and then they have put it in words for us to hear from Guru or to know from the words put in textual manner in Samhitas or scriptures. The Aptopadesh is not actually questioned much because we have already accepted in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara that certain Aptopadesha are never to be questioned. If we understand them right now, it's okay. If we are not understanding them, we cannot discard it. It's like a Atmana or Atma. We can't prove its existence, but everyone knows, everyone experiences Chetana, at least up to Chetana or consciousness, the measurable part, at least now, the modern science is going. But beyond that, they cannot go. But everyone understands, everyone accepts, everyone has experience, so it is beyond question. We have to just accept it and build our life on that. Then pratyaksha pramana, anything that we cognize by our five sensory organs, it is that comes under this pratyaksha. Like evidence based medicine comes in this pratyaksha pramana. Yathartha jnana is majorly measured right now by pratyaksha and anumana. Aptopadesha, right now whenever we are talking about textbooks, the accepted textbooks for any course or any curriculum, they are the aptopadesh for that subject and for that topic. So textbooks have come to be understood as Aptopadesha right now. But Bharatiya Jnana Parampara has different approach to Aptopadesh. Like for Veda, then Ayurveda Samhita. We are not to tamper with it. We are not to delete anything from it. We are not to add anything to it by our own limited understanding. uh, so that was not to be tampered with, so that they were put on a higher pedestal like a sacred text and kept a little bit outside. So the knowledge we actually have, there is so much knowledge in it, but we have forgotten how to learn from that knowledge bank without corrupting the original knowledge bank. Then anumana, like inference. So pratyaksha, anumana, and yukti, they are majorly applied right now. And aptopadesha is a little bit, I said like that, the textbook, like the state education department has recognized this textbook. They have published their own textbook. Like some board have published like this, or their central council has this textbook for 7th standard, or for even college level they are recommending textbooks. Even PG level they are recommending some textbooks. Those textbooks may not always be Aptopadesh. They cannot be always Aptopadesh, because the textbooks writers, the compilators, they are all from among us. And this part also I will be elaborating more in the next session. Then Smruti Karana. Without Smruti, there is no Shiksha, there is no education. Whatever is being imparted, we have to retain. We have to acquire and retain. So there are 8 different ways for Smruti Karana in Charak Samhita. Like everyone who is into this modern educational system, they are always looking for if there is any medicine to enhance my memory, if there is any medicine. And the fact is, no such medicine exists. We have to work on ourselves to enhance our memory. Like Buddhi Medhakara Gana is mentioned in Sushruta Samhita, and not a single medicine has been mentioned. So that is just in passing I am saying. This Sprutikaran is most important, and it is Abhyasa, then repetition of what we have learned, then various kind of interactive methods, like finding the similarity or the dissimilarity, that kind of thing, or mnemonic, that kind of different methods we can use for Smriti Karana, and it also comes as a part of teaching methods, so the student retain properly. Then Tantra Yukti, they are the tools to understand, to decipher the Yathartha Jnana contained in the text. So Tantra Yukti part actually is not applied in current contemporary pedagogy, because Tantra Yukti needs more higher critical thinking part. This higher kind of critical thinking part is most difficult part to understand, even for someone like me who has understood a little bit about this Tantra Yukti. It's not very easy to apply. We have been given some examples also how the Tantra Yukti is applied to this and how the Yathartha Jnana is contained in the text. Because without the application of Tantra Yukti, we cannot understand what is written here, and we will say, I don't know what is written here, and we will discard it. So it's not to be like. So Yathartha Jnana always has to be through the Tantra Yukti and the Prashna Prashnartha part also. Then Sushrut Samhita has, these are all the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara pedagogy mentioned in Ayurveda Samhita. Pada, Shloka methodology, like a small sentence, small term, and then sentence, then the complete text, understanding it bit in pieces, and then in concise, and then whole method. That kind of methodology is for learning, and even for teaching. Single word is first enumerated, then the compilation of the word, the sentence, and then the whole sutra, like that. Then Yogya Vidhi, the practical application upon observations for hands-on training to develop the skills. When skill-based education is there, then Yogya Vidhi was also mentioned. And like we can say, the practical application of the knowledge that we are learning. Ashtanga Hridaya has this beautiful and short method, Patha, Avabodha, and Anusthana methodology. Patha means repeatedly reading to understand. Avabodha, now that understanding whatever we have read and we are cognizing, then once we understand and we have perfected our understanding, then only we will know how to apply that anusthana and repeatedly applying it. So this threefold method for knowledge acquisition as well as application of knowledge of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is also most important, and it applies to every kind of topic. It's not just like for Ayurveda. This is actually applied in every single context where pedagogy needs to be applied for knowledge transfer to next generation. Now this is Charak Samhita's special Trividha Jnanopaya. I hope audience is understanding what I am trying to convey here. Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Because and anyone can put in questions after the presentation is over. If I am overshooting the time, then also let me know, because I am in the flow of talking and sharing whatever knowledge I have gained. So you can please just let me know if there is. And if any question is there, then please ask me after the presentation is over. In Charak Samhita has Trividha Jnanopaya. Adhyayan, that is self-study, read to understand. Adhyapan, teaching, that is understand to teach. How to teach is also most important part of Guru Shishya Parampara. And Trividha Jnanopaya, Tadvitya Sambhasha, group study. It can be among the teachers, it can be among the students only, or it can be among the both. Like one part here, the teachers or professors are, and here the students, and they can try to level up their knowledge. So there is a coherent discussion, and then everyone learns how to apply the knowledge. Then teach to apply. In Sambhasha, when I am telling my colleague or my co-student or co-professor or co-teacher something that I have learned, I have understood something different perspective, then how to apply part also comes. And then that knowledge churning, that vichara manthana, that will lead to more understanding for everyone how to apply the knowledge. Because without application, knowledge is nothing, it is lost. And this is Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. The main thing is na prushtva guruvo vadanti nyaya. Students have to ask the questions, unlike today's contemporary method of pedagogy. Guru is not asking the questions. Students has to ask questions to Guru, and then only Guru will answer. Because in Charak Samhita, there are 8 such symposiums where the acharyas are not asking questions. The students are asking questions. They are discussing among themselves what is what and what is what not. And the final conclusion is given by Acharya. So it is like a Sambhasha, Tadvidya Sambhasha or symposium. So that kind of method, that kind of model, we must have at least from school level education. So the students are interested in learning. Once the students understand, they have a chance to speak their extra energy, because they are bubbling. That is, their age is such that they can't sit still. After certain time, they will do चुलबुल and they will wait for bell कब बजेगी और कब ये class खत्म होगा. It's not like. Student has to be encouraged to ask questions. However silly this question may seem to teacher at that time, teacher can always say, yes, we will answer this question. Let other students answer first, then I will answer, and then discuss it. Let them discuss among themselves the questions and the answer, and then teacher can decide, like Acharya. what is the correct answer to that question. This kind of interactive method will enliven the classroom and get students interested in learning and being there, and the atmosphere of friendliness and that cohesive force with human cognition that will level up this teaching game, and it will level up the consciousness level of everyone. Then Ayurveda and quantum knowledge. Now this is a little bit a different way, different Siddhanta. Why how if we have to apply Panchamahabhut Siddhanta, we have to understand why. That why is here. Ayurveda and quantum knowledge. Ayurveda has Loka Purusha Samya Siddhanta, which states in simple terms microcosm and macrocosm. Macrocosm is a mirror of microcosm. And this is a beautiful quote from A. Maslow. Holism is obviously true. After all, the cosmos is one and interrelated. Any society is one and interrelated, and any person is one and interrelated. Yet, the holistic outlook has a hard time being implemented and being used as it should be as a way of looking at the world. Why we need this holistic outlook towards knowledge transference is also most important, because we have to level up the whole society's level of consciousness. We have to understand the collective human cognitive level, and we have to, because ultimate aim of any shiksha or knowledge acquisition is to be on a higher level of consciousness, chetana. That's why I said the first sutra, jnaniyansi chetansi, jnaninam api chetansi. If we are knowledgeable, then it's a byproduct of that knowledge acquisition that our consciousness level rises. And as it rises, the beautiful thing about Lokapurusha Samya Siddhanta is, as this consciousness rises, we come to acquire that which is called as Satya Buddhi, the wisdom, Satvika Buddhi. Without wisdom, without Buddhi Matam, without gaining that level of Satvika Buddhi, it will not be possible for us to apply the knowledge properly for the well-being of one's own self as well as others. So this Lokapurusha Samya Siddhanta has beautifully elaborated how this Purusha or the living being is same as the Loka that is outside. Like it's like now, if it is me as a single human being, and everyone outside of me, the things, the beings whom I am seeing, who are seeing me, they are loco. And there is no difference between me and this loco. We are similars. Nothing is there between me and the loca, which is different on a different. We are similars. This is the basic premise of Lokapurusha Samya Siddhanta, because we are all made of Panchamahabhuta, and Panchamahabhuta, they may be having different gradation, manifestation in everyone. That is causing the diversity, the specificity, the character or the personality or likes and dislikes, like that. But still, the main stratum is resting on Panchamahabhuta. That is why Sushruta has said, Asmin Shastre Panchamahabhuta Shariri Samvaya Purusha Ityuchyate. Here, Purush doesn't mean the male gender. It's not a gender. In Ayurveda, there is no gender mentioned. Wherever Purush is said, it is means a human being. A human being can be a male or female or anything, but a live human being is called as Purusha. And Sushrut has clearly said in our Shastra, Panchamahabhuta and Shariri. Shariri means the Atma, the one who dwells within us. Both are existent in a coherent manner. Samavaya Sambandha is a specific relationship between the two entities, where they both need each other to exist, to manifest, to work in tandem. And that Panchamahabhuta plus Shariri or Atma or Chetana, when they are, it is like coherently with each other, then the live human being manifests, or it is a live human being. And also it is very specifically said, यावन्तो हि लोके मूर्तिमंतो भाव विशेषः तावन्तः पुरुषे, यावन्तः पुरुषे तावन्तो लोके इति. All the entities that are existent in outside world of ourselves, they are also inside us. Uh, and all the entities that are within us, they are also outside of us. We are not different from this whole. So the whole Panchamahabhuta, we are a part of it, but we are a part like a whole bigger macrocosm and the whole microcosm that is a live human being. So that kind of similarity when we understand, like there is a even Sushrut has mentioned ki how it is like there is a sun, then it means adana or extraction, evaporation. There is anger. Like the Vedic deities, they are nothing but the existing environmental entities like moon, Maruta. Maruta means Vayu or air. Then it shows enthusiasm. It correlates with enthusiasm within us. Indra, that is ego, the ahankar within us, like that. So the deities are nothing but the entities that are in the local or the outside world, in the environment, as well as they are within us. Or there is, and the best is Brahma, like Charak Samhita has said. Now the next sutra is Shadadhatavah Samuditaha Purusha Shabda Labhanti. Apart from Panchamahabhuta, Brahma Avyaktamiti, Shadadhatavaha Samuditaha Purusha. So the sixth dhatu, apart from Panchamahabhuta, Charak Samhita has mentioned as Brahma, and Sushrut has mentioned as Shariri or Atmana. This Brahma, Avyakta, Atma, Chetana, Shariri, they are all similars. The words are different because of different Darshana Shastra have described them in different terms. But uh, um, the main character or the main attributes, actually they have no attributes, but still for understanding how it comes, like Avyakta, that it's they are referring to same entity, and they are trying to understand that entity apart from us, uh, apart from Panchamahabhut and apart from this Loka or even Purusha. So Brahma is mentioned as, now this is from Vedanta Darshana. The same creative energy of cosmos, that is Brahmanda, is mentioned as Brahma, which are mentioned in Brahma Sutra by Vedanta Darshana. Same in Sankhya Darshana, like Bhagavad Gita, everyone knows Prakriti Purush. They have mentioned it in different language, but they all mean the same thing. An entity, something which is beyond human cognition, but it contains energy, information, and intelligence. And those three things, like David Bohm has tried to explain in English, they are all interconnected and they are part of larger system, something that is beyond Panchamahabhuta and beyond Akash also. His ideas about the relationship between mind and matter, his theory of implicate order suggests that everything in the universe is connected. So the connection that is between entities within a single human being and the entities that are outside of the human being, they are all connected by these six dhatva, Panchamahabhuta, and um, we can call Brahma as by any of these words. Panchamahabhuta, painted universal expressions of Avyakta. As per Vedanta Darshana, Brahma Parabrahma, Atma Paramatma, as per Sankhya Darshana, Shiva Shakti by Trikshastra Darshana Shastra, Purusha Prakriti by Sankhya Darshana, Shiva Shakti Sadashiva, like Shakta Darshana Shastra. So they have named it in a different way, but the main undercurrent is from unmanifest to manifest. Now, why we need to understand this? Because we have to talk about the journey of a student from Abuddha to Buddhipata. This journey is no different from this journey of manifestation. If this journey is happening on a larger scale, on a universal scale, as a manifestation of this whole universal expression of a vector, same process happens within a single human being as a part of his human cognition or human cognitive abilities, from avyakta to vyakta, from abuddha or from ignorance or from tamas to vyakta or knowledgeable, being knowledgeable, or towards sattva, or from tamasic buddhi to sattvic buddhi, we can say. And the same thing is happening at various levels apart from the universal level expressions has been mentioned in Sanhita. We have to understand the same process on various level, like physical level it is happening, psychological level it is happening, chemical level, biological level, electrical level, magnetic level, nuclear level, subatomic level. The same process is happening from avyakta to vyakta, unmanifest, this energy information intellect manifesting as something of a part of the whole part. Then even quark, gluon, plasma, even at that quantum level, which is a very unstable and very small field which we cannot even capture or measure, even on that level, the quarks, we can say the quark as tanmatra, because even Panchamahabhuta have the same journey. How they from avyakta to vyakta is a big journey, and this journey is also called as Samsrushta Viveka or cosmogenesis, which happens on the smallest level within a shishya also, whenever he is trying to learn something and his buddhi is trying to gain knowledge and he is trying to increase his own level of consciousness from the lowest tamasic level to highest sattvic level, satya buddhi or sattvic buddhi. Now sansrushta viveka is a beautiful process. For proper understanding, I will explain it in a very short way. It is like a different differentiation and integration. So differentiation is happening and integration is happening. There is separation happening and integration is also happening. And the de-differentiation is also happening, and differentiation is also happening. So this whole Samsrushta Viveka is nothing but a journey from differentiation to undifferentiation, determinants to undeterminants, coherence to non-coherence, and the reverse also happens. So this process continuously goes on. Knowledge acquisition or even the application of knowledge, whenever we say that this main base process is always going on, and I will be explaining more about this in a very simple way, how tamasic buddhi can be person with a tamasic buddhi or the person with ignorance can be lead to sattvika buddhi or satya buddhi by application of Panchamahabhut Siddhanta. Because once we understand this thing, we know what exactly that particular student needs. We have to have the coherent relationship between the teacher and the student, and that coherency that can be caused because everyone is unique, everyone has their own constitution, their own level of cognition, and they both can then, if we match correctly, then the coherency will be enhanced and leading to successful outcome. Here the successful outcome is not the enhancement of marks in the papers. Here the successful outcome is application of the knowledge applied in real life situations. Then now Bhu or Bhuta, we say this is a short to understand the Sanskrit terms and how they are defined in Ayurveda. Bhu means to be, the universal expressions from non-existent to existent, the creative quark to manifest, exist, grow, expand. It is a primary state of development. It is a dynamic aspect of being. A being or a thing of the process of creation. Guna avaktavastha. Qualities are non-determinative, non-discrete. Prakriti samyavastha. Here the undifferentiatedness is there. It is a balanced unmanifest. But when they are manifesting, in the process of manifesting, like they are separating, then it's mahabhuta. It's like from subtle to gross. Whenever the manifestation happens, it is always a journey from subtle to gross, or subtle to human cognitive perceptible matter. The Mahabhuta are determinative component deriving existence from Mahat, which is also called as greater or Buddhi, Ahankara, I-ness, that is separateness. As soon as Ahankara develops, the differentiation happens, determinants kick in, the coherency also happens. Because of coherency, the matter has distinctive appearance, distinctive qualities also. And Bhuta is a word that was or is the literal meaning. It may be a living being or a non-living, transformable elements or particles of matter with energy charging up to transform. Sthula Mahabhuta is that which is cognitively perceptible by five sensory organs. So for application, we are we are only going to apply Sthula Mahabhuta concept of Panchamahabhut Siddhanta, because we have human cognitively which is equal to five sensory organs. And Manasa for cognition as well as phonation is most important part of this whole journey. Because if the manas is not in a proper way, then the whole process will be disrupted, or it will not be leading to proper uh, uh, end. Uh, Hello,
Yes,
hello.
madam. Yes, madam.
Uh, uh, I hope the audience is not getting bored, because it's a very lengthy and like that.
Yes,
If you
yes.
want, I can speed up, or just let me know. I want this concept to be solidified into audience. Only then they will understand how the application will be.
मैडम
Uh, okay, thank you. So this Panchamahabhuta, they are of two types: Karanabhuta, Sukshma or subtle. On the subtle level, they are Upadana Karan, like they are deriving their existence, sustenance, and status of being from each other. Why this is important, Upadana and Adharabhuta? Because they are, though they appear different, segregated, differentiated, but for existence purpose, they are all coherently connected. They are differentiated, yet they are non-differentiated, and they are determinants that can be described, and that can be categorized, but still they are undeterminate also. And this is the beauty of Panchamahabhut Siddhanta. Vayu doesn't exist apart from other four. Prithvi doesn't exist apart from other four. Like this. So this Thula Mahabhuta is our focus due to our limited cognitive ability, which is limited to five sensory organs. They are also Adharabhuta, like they are substrate in which all exist as Mahabhuta, physical existence of Mahabhuta. So let us, for example, look at this whole concept for application purpose to our topic. Teacher is also a Mahabhuta manifested along with Brahma, Shariri, Jivatma, Paramatma or Chetana Dhatu. A student is also that. For both of them, if they have, they are trying to communicate in a for a positive outcome, they have to match. They have to match their constitution, their level of cognition, their level of understanding. Then it becomes an easy journey for both of them. And if and they can both level up each other's consciousness also by uh, torching light on the unknown, or the part of which about which they are ignorant. So this is how the Panchamahabhuta applied aspect can enhance the pedagogical outcome of this whole process of knowledge imparting. They are also Karyabhuta. and how they manifest. Now since I am into Ayurveda, I have just for example I have taken this for understanding purpose. Pancha Mahabhuta, they are Karana Bhuta, they are the cause also, and Karya Bhuta, like they are the functional entities also. They are always functioning within us, and within us, how they are functioning is also important for us if we want a coherent and a very friendly kind of knowledge or knowledge transfer kind of process. So Karyabhuta, they are in the form of Tridosha. They are the definitive, derivative, functional, constitutional, observable, measurable by subjective cognition. Then as a Shadvasa, definitive derivatives related to herbs, plants, living beings who are made up of rasa or biochemical existence of Mahabhuta. Tridosha are physical, metaphysical, I can say, and biological, functional existence of Panchamahabhuta. Shadrasa are biochemical existence of Panchamahabhuta. Then Triguna, Sattva, Raja, Tama. They are definitely derived at psychological level or cellular level. For us, whenever we are talking about pedagogical methods, the psychological level is most important part, because the psychological part, the sattva raja tama level, because ultimately the journey of this Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is to lead the students from tamas to sattva, from tamas to rajas to sattva. From tamas to sattva directly we cannot lead and cannot go. From tamas to rajas, rajas to sattva. From ignorance to action, desire, something that will work, and from that to sattva buddhi, sattvic buddhi, or um, because sattva buddhi, once one gets, now one the knowledge comes to him. He doesn't, the whole world becomes the guru and the knowledge comes to the person, and that process we have to facilitate and enhance for the benefit of collective, not just for a single person. And that is the best beautiful method of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Then these Karyabhuta, Panchamahabhuta are basic building blocks of uncountable, immeasurable existence of living and non-living beings or things. Beings and things, Sajiva, Nirjiva, Chetana, Achetana, both kind of entities, they are in everything. Even for physical science, nuclear science, even from any science, any topic, any course, every single thing is resting on Panchamahabhuta. If we look through this Panchamahabhuta Siddhanta by understanding how these five are distinct as well as non-distinct, how they are getting differentiated, how they are getting separated, and also integrated. Because at integrated level, they are manifest, then they are in front of us as a matter. And when they are separated, they are like in quantum level, like quark, gluon, plasma level,
पेपर्स आहेत
which is
ना
very
इथे बघायला
unstable,
लागेल तू
and
बुक
materially we cannot even capture it. That is a part of quantum science. And
पेपर आहेत
this subtle and quantum level of quarks, gluons, or tanmatra, because Panchamahabhuta are not directly
मी
coming,
थोडं
there
बोर
is
होतो
subtle part which are
गाडीने एवढं
Sukshma
6 तास
Tanmatra.
बसणं मला कंबर दुखते
They have been defined as quanta of energy. The Tanmatra
किती
are
वेळ गेले
nothing but the
शेगावला
quanta
किती
of
वेळ
energy.
गेले
Like in
शेगावला
previous slide we saw Brahma, energy, information,
काय
intelligence.
होतं
That three Tanmatra is the quanta of energy on a very subtle level. Right now, science has got on
आता काय
only till photon. They have still to catch a causticon, tacton,
किती गेले
guston, and
किती
olfacton.
गेले
Only at photon level the quantum science is right now, and the rest four are still to be explored. The quarks, gluon, plasma, they are thinking right now, but if they go deeper, they will. The day they found a causticon, they will find the God particle, and I don't know what will happen after that. But this is this knowledge This is like an Aptavachana in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Those who care to look for, they may
बघू मला
find it.
प्लॅन करू दे 15
So
तारखेपर्यंत शांत
here there is a lot of research potential, especially for computer, AI, machine learning, and machine consciousness
काढते
also.
ना मी वेळ
And this part we are not teaching to students at school level, college level. This knowledge they are not getting.
मी
I
बाळाला
just
काही
don't
लावत
know
नाही
how AI will work if our next generation is unaware about these acousticons, tactons, guston, and olfactons. Photons only they are applying right now, and the applications are presenting every day in beautiful way, different ways, beneficial, non-beneficial,
बघ बरं ते
lots of
हे बघ
possibilities without any kind of control over it. So AI is going to pose a big problem, and for that, our next generation is not still ready. So we have to catch this from Pancha Mahabhut Siddhanta, because only through Pancha Mahabhut Siddhanta I have come to understand this, the quanta, quark, and gluons, and or QGP, this subtle quantum level field. On gross level, ether or plasma, air or movement or gases, light or heat energy, water or liquid, earth or soil, land, bhugol, geo. On gross level, we are seeing Panchamahabhut everywhere. They are undifferentiated as well as differentiated, both mixed and matched. And the quantum level, they are totally undifferentiated, undeterminate, and non-coherent. And because of their non-coherency, we cannot capture them as a material and cannot even perceive them by our limited human cognition. Then this Panchikarana process, it's like from Bhutadi to Mahabhuta, subtle to gross manifestation. And these are some sutra that now these five, they are not different entities from each other. They create, they sustain, they manifest resting on each other. आकाशात वायू, वायोत अग्ने हे, अग्ने आपहा, अद्भ्या पृथ्वी, पृथिव्या औषधया, औषधोभ्या अन्नम, अन्नात पुरुषः. This is how the simple thread is. From Akash to Purusha, how this whole journey is happening. Here Purusha means the living being, how the living being is happening from Anna to Purusha, Aushadha, Anna, Purusha, and then Aushadha because of this Panchamahabhuta. So this is the beauty of Panchamahabhut Siddhanta, this basic knowledge about our existence, from where we came, what is actually constituting us. We are not taught, we are not aware, and therein lies our blind spot. And we have to overcome this by applying this Panchamahabhut Siddhanta right from school level, scientific understanding of the whole world around us. Sushruta Samhita has this beautiful sutra, Panchabhutatmaka Dehe. Our whole, a living being's Deho is made of Panchamahabhuta, and they are Paraspar Samsargat. Akash, Vayu, Agni, Aap, Prithvi, they are Paraspar Samsargat. So they are undifferentiated, undeterminate, Paraspar Anugrahat. They are sustaining themselves, they are contradicting themselves, they are destructing themselves, they are even constructing among each other themselves. And this way they are always there, and this way Sarveshu Sarvesham Sanidhyam Asti. It means every single moment they are always with each other. We cannot separate them. They are always there. So it's not like this is this. So even buddhi is not static. Buddhi has to be developed. It has to be available. I may बुद्धि की उपलब्धि उपलब्धि होनी चाहिए, तब भी हम लोगों को जो नॉलेज सामने है या ज्ञान सामने है, उसका हमारे आत्मा तक वो आत्मसात होके वो स्मृति में बैठ जाएगा. And then the memory will get solidified and we will understand it, and then we will always carry it within our jivatma. So in the next life we will not be we don't have to start the journey from start again. We will be Like this has happened with our Santa Jnaneshwara, how he came to know so much at the age of 18, because the Jivatma, it retained the past life's learning impressions. The whole family lineage, the whole family was into Adhyatma, and their experiences were their teachers. And then the Dhaneshwari manifested. This is the perfect example how Parloka Eshana can be acquired by learning about this basic knowledge of Panchamahabhuta as long as we are still living. And these Panchamahabhuta, they are always with each other. They also cause Utkarsha and Apakarsha, like they Vruddhi or Rahasya. Like Vata बढ़ गया है, we say Kapha is going down. They are dynamic, like equalizer. Here it goes up, then here it goes down, and they are always in tandem. It never happens that there is Akasha and there is a Vayu and there is Prithvi also, and both are at all the five are at the same level. When they are at the same level, then we call it as Prakriti or unmanifest. For manifestation to occur, there has to be some differentiation. Then only that material manifestation will occur. And this is the basic part. The same process applies to the thought processes that go on among within us. And this is a smart depiction how Panchamahabhuta are actually deriving Sattva Raja Tama and Vata Pitta Kapha. So Akash is now this chart is important for application uh, to pedagogical methods, because the constitution or the prakriti of teacher as well as the student based on Panchamahabhuta, it will be differentiated based on Sattva Rajatama and Vata Pitta Kapha. If the student is of Vata Prakriti and the teacher is of Kapha Prakriti, they will both tolerate each other nicely, and there will be a kind of coherency in their understanding also, because they are tolerating each other and they are imparting the knowledge to each other. Kapha is like slow sluggish, Vata is like an excited, so the slow sluggish student will be compelled to be do better. And that वो बोलते ना मराठी में वाण नाही पण गुण लागला, ढवळ्या संग पवळ्या बांधला पण वाण नाही पण गुण लागला. Like that, we have to have that coherent relationship so the knowledge occurs beautifully for student, because here the aim is ultimately to take the student from tamas to rajas to sattva. And all these panchamahabhuta, their manifestation, the way the thought process occurs, the way the wisdom develops, the way the knowledge is applied, even for knowledge application, this is of most important kind of part. Then this is the color wheel. The same again, then they are not differentiated, but still they are always with each other. So tridosha, whenever we are talking about constitution of any human being, the constitution or the prakriti, we have to understand the panchamahabhuta and vata pitta kapha. And according to that constitution, we can design different innovative teaching methodology, because teaching a vata predominant person is needs a different kind of approach. For a pitta predominant person needs a different approach, and kapha predominant also needs different approach. So we can at least make small groups based on their constitution. And this segregation or the categorization is not to control them, but to better understand their psychological constitution and better understand how their mind is functioning. So we as a teacher or a professor at a level where we can impart knowledge to them successfully, because the knowledge impartation
Hello.
or the knowledge transference, it has to happen successfully for us
हम्म,
to be recognized as best teachers. And all
बोलो.
types of constitutional students are there in the classroom, and we have to focus on
सर
everyone.
तुमचं फॉर्मच
We
नाही
cannot
आलंय
say that
आमच्यापर्यंत.
whole class.
मला अजय कुंभारे
And
सरांनी
every time
तुम्हाला
the
सांगायला
assessment,
सांगितलं
now I
मी
think
डोक्यात
that
राहून की तुम्ही फॉर्म कधी भरला?
little bit flipping is going to happen. The students will be
नाही
assessing the
Yes, ma'am.
नाही
capability.
आलाय. तुमच्याकडे जर त्या गुगल
Hello,
फॉर्मचं
haha.
लिंक असेल ना,
Ma'am, how to identify
तो
these
फॉर्म
students?
करा
Like
बरं.
they are
म्हणजे
from
तुमचं
which
नाव अजून
Pragati?
लिस्टमध्ये ऍड नाही झालं.
Yes,
Prakriti. Yes, ma'am.
yes, that part is also mentioned in Ayurveda.
वेबसाईटवर म्हणजे कुठे?
I will be elaborating more about this in the second
हो,
session.
पण ते जुन्या
In this
लिस्टमध्ये नाव
session,
असेल ना
I
तुमचं
don't
म्हणून
want this
कदाचित.
session to be very
तुम्ही आता
heavier
तो
to
फॉर्म परत
understand.
भरा.
So basic concepts I am
आपल्या ग्रुपमध्ये
presenting, and how
ग्रुपमध्ये मी गुगल फॉर्म टाकला
Panchamahabhuta
होता सर.
based
आहे
Prakriti
का तुमच्याजवळ?
or even Triguna or Tridosha based Prakriti,
मला व्हॉट्सअपवर
that
मेसेज करा,
can be
पर्सनलवर मी पाठवते.
in a very simple way a teacher can understand. That I will be coming to in the second session, and it's not a big charts or big kind of word, very basic traits which are actually very easy to find also. Because going too deep into constitution is not expected here. In Ayurveda we have to go deeper down into the understanding constitution, because we have to do chikitsa, we have to cause health, we have to be the factor which is causing health to the person. For a pedagogical method, we don't have to go that deeper, only till that point where human cognitive methods can be worked upon. Only till that point we have to go, because ultimately human kapha prakriti person will have a different level of cognition. Prithvi and apa both have different guna, the predominance of which mahabhuta is there, that will be again differentiating the kapha prakriti person also. Some basic pointers I will be presenting in the next session. In a short way I will explain. Triguna, Sattva Raja
Excuse me,
Tama.
ma'am. How many slides are remaining?
Uh, this much.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Okay, we have another session in continuation. That's why I'm asking, ma'am.
Okay, if you want, I can go fast forward because the question came up. I will go fast forward. This is, like I said, we have to go for the constitution only till the level of understanding, cognitive level of the student, and also understand this. Even the teacher has to understand what is his cognitive level. Then only he will be able to better impart. So, so Prakriti is only limited to that part. And this is the Panchikaran process, how these things are interrelated. These slides I will be sharing with Dr. Preeti Madam Ji, and she can share with the audience and they can learn about this more, because if I explain, the presentation will get lengthy. And then this resultant, in short, this is a process. Same process is happening at cognitive level, when the knowledge is getting imparted from avyakta to vyakta, uh, from matter in its most primordial, like abudha to buddhimata. How this thing is happening is mentioned, and samsrishta viveka I have previously explained this, so I'm not going into detail right now. Then the difference between Bharatiya Jnana Parampara and contemporary pedagogy. Now this is my last three slides only. Why why we need innovative methodology, why we need this application of Panchamahabhut Siddhanta. The why is here, and these are my observation also. These are the observation of some Ayurvedic Vaidyas also, the teachers also, and why there is a need to apply and integrate Panchabhut Siddhanta by IKS methods in contemporary pedagogy. So this is the comparative chart. I will go fast. Biophysics, quantum biology, quantum physics, subjectivism, metaphysics, they are included. They are given a credence in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Colonized Shiksha Paddhati is totally objective based. It is limited knowledge system. They are just focusing on biochemical and biophysical aspect. Beyond that, they are not going. In Gurukula, it is an individualized approach, student-centric approach. Mass education system, it's like you're working like uniformly produce factory products. It's a system-centric education system where certain kind of student is labeled as best. It's not a individualized system or the student centric system, not even teacher centric system. Gurukula is teacher centric also and student centric also. Then unified field dynamics, tantra, tattva, unlimited, universal, holistic, that kind of knowledge is acknowledged here. It is taught and even application of it is here beautifully applied. Here, the curriculum syllabus is to limited topic, no scope for cultural diverse knowledge system integration, no tantra, no tattva. Energetics and quantum biosciences are core part. Knowledge of energetics, quantum biosciences absent or neglected. Allied sciences like dance, art, Natya Shastra, Vastu, Jyotisha, they are included. Tunnel vision approach or reductionist approach is not including essential allied sciences as part of skill, talent, or wisdom-based education. Then nature and universe are the subject and object of information-based knowledge system. No observation of natural phenomena, disconnection from nature is highly prevalent, which is this disconnection from nature in the current method is leading to depression, addiction, suicide, so many mental problems, everything in younger productive generation. Then the natural health promotive surroundings are encouraged, unlike closed classrooms. Classroom prevent observation and experience of environment and nature as a source of holistic knowledge. Questioning and seeking answers are encouraged for critical thinking in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Questionings are not encouraged, answers are constrained in a model format, emphasized on rote learning. Assessment by Guru. The assessment is of intelligent quotient, emotional quotient, as well as spiritual quotient. Here, the assessment is based on mass and only IQ or short-term memory retention is tested. This Bharatiya Parampara is free from political against interference. Funding and patronage means studies were pursued and duties of imparting knowledge were conducted without any hindrance or interference. Even Raja used to go to Guru's ashrama or Guru's Vidyapita with folded hands, not to interfere and tell Guru what to teach, what not to teach. Unlike today's, where too much interference from authorities, industries, political, executive bodies in designing curriculum and syllabus of courses, which knowledge to impart is impacting the holistic development of students. Students are kept away from the holistic knowledge system. Then nature and natural resources are preserved. Due credence is given in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. In colonized Shiksha Paddhati, nature and natural resources are violated. They are not preserved, they are used. Conservation and equal distribution as per minimalistic net-based lifestyle is encouraged. Pollution is the outcome as more and more natural resources are used to apply the technology for reductionist aspirants of a few. Application of wisdom or sattvika buddhi or satya buddhi, the highest state of collective human wisdom, intertwined with intelligence is encouraged for holistic well-being of all. Non-holistic methods are considered as smart by application of rajasic and tamasic buddhi. Spirit of cooperation for collective well-being of swasthya. Spirit of competition for short-term misperceived wellness is encouraged, leading to diseases among collectives and loss of health for all. So these are in short the differences that I have noticed, and I think we need to work on the part that were on the right side of the slide, and we have to go towards the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, the positive sides of it, and we have to include it in our current pedagogical methods. So next session, application part, I will be elaborating. And till that time, I request audience to think for themselves about Panchamahabhuta. Every single thing they observe, they cognize, they have to think in terms of Panchamahabhuta and they will understand. It is so around us and we are so blind to it. We have to torch the light within us, then only we will understand how everything is connected, and then we are better in a better position to impart the knowledge to next generation. If there are any questions, audience can ask, and let me know if there are any questions or not, and I stop my presentation for first session here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, madam. Very nice topic. Few things are very new to us, but participants, any question if you have, please ask.
Ma'am, what is Triguna?
Three guna are basic constituents of everything that exists around us, including us also. sattva, raja, and tama. Without these three guna, there is no universe, there is no nature, there is no environment, there is no buddhi also, there is no human being, there is only void. In a void there cannot be any existence. Only in triguna, when they are in a state of manifestation, the whole universe, the whole human congregation, the whole human societies, the nature, its constituents, they manifest. And we are actually limiting our knowledge system only to environment, nature, and human being. And that's why we are focusing on three guna, which are also called as mahaguna, which are the basic constituents of our very being and our even thing. Everything and every being is Trigunatmak, just as it is Panchamahabhutatmak.
So it's like, ma'am, body, mind, and soul.
Pardon?
Ma'am, it's kind of like body, mind, and soul.
No, Triguna has nothing to do with soul. Like I said, Pancha Shadadhatavaha Pancha Mahabhuta, Shariri, Brahma, Atma, Paramatma, they are different things. They are energy aspect, energy, information, and intelligence aspect. The intelligence which is we can say as prajna. Not every, because in this whole darshana shastra way, intelligence also has gradients, vijnana or buddhi, or they are different. Everything has a different meaning. So the prajna is here. Atma is jna. Jna means the one who knows everything. Atma, soul, is something that is a repository of the knowledge. Every knowledge that we cognize or